Very good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. So today we'll begin with where we ended last time. In the last lecture, I have told you about the fantastic machine that is the ATP synthase enzyme. And after that, I think we have seen some of the regulatory part of oxidative phosphorylation, because oxidative phosphorylation is a very, very important metabolic process. It has a high yield of ATP from glucose molecule if you compare it with anaerobic respiration. And that is why we have seen how the regulation takes place. One thing that we have seen is the acceptor control, that is the amount of ADP which is available to carry out ATP synthesis as well as the respiration. Okay, if ADP is less in availability, then naturally the ATP synthesis will be slowed down, and it will also reflect on the electron transport, that is the respiration. Okay, then we have seen the mass action ratio also, where we have seen that the ATP to ADP plus PI ratio. Okay, that is also very important. And if there is a high level of ATP, that is if the system is phosphorylated, then automatically the ATP synthesis will be slowed down. Okay, and if the ATP amount concentration is less, then of course immediately the system will be geared up so that more and more ATP will be formed. And since this is a very sensitive regulation, in fact, the ATP levels will almost remain stable in a particular cell. Uh, well, then we have seen that endosymbiotic bacteria have evolved into the mitochondria. Again, this is something very similar to what we have seen in the case of chloroplasts. Okay, then we have seen another interesting role of mitochondria, that is the cytochrome C, which is present in mitochondria, is also important for apoptosis to happen. Okay, then I think we are yet to see this Atkinson's energy charge. Okay, so this is actually something which tells us about what is the energy status of a cell. Okay, so this term was coined by a famous scientist by the name Daniel Atkinson, and this particular value, that is the Atkinson's energy charge, is proportional to the mole fraction of ATP and plus half the mole fraction of ADP. That is because in ATP there are three phosphate groups, but these are linked actually through two anhydride bonds. Okay, so there are two anhydride bonds in ATP, and there is only one anhydride bond in ADP. So the amount of energy which is stored in ADP is actually, we can call it as half of the energy which is stored in ATP, and therefore ATP plus half of ADP. Okay, whatever concentration is there of ATP molecules and the concentration of ADP molecules, the ADP we consider as half of the amount of ATP. Okay, because the number of bonds is half, right? So ATP plus half of ADP concentration divided by the total amount of ATP plus ADP plus AMP. Okay, that value which we get is called as the Atkinson's energy charge. Okay, and let us see how it affects metabolism. If the cell has all AMP, if there is no ADP and there is no ATP present in a particular system, then we say that the energy charge is zero. Okay, and if the cell has all ATP molecules, no ADP and no AMP, then we say that the energy charge is equal to 1. Okay, and then actually depending upon the amounts of ATP and ADP and of course AMP, we have the energy charge value for a particular cell which ranges between 0 to 1. Okay, and that value, if it is close to 1, then it means that the system is very well phosphorylated. Okay, and if that value is close to 0, then we would say that the phosphorylation status of a particular cell is not so good. Okay, so values between 0 and 1 and values close to 1 means that the energy level is good. Okay, Normally what happens is the ATP generating pathways, that is the catabolic pathways, are inhibited when the energy value is very high. Okay, energy status is good. Is it okay? And if the energy status is not so good, then of course ATP will be generated, so the catabolic reactions will happen at a faster rate. Okay, have you understood this? This is just for your revision. I have again made this slide yesterday in order to tell you that there should be no confusion. These are the types of regulation we have seen. Acceptor control, which depends upon the actual availability of ADP. Okay, less ADP, then the respiration will be less. Okay, because the acceptor molecule is less. Then mass action ratio is where we have seen that the ATP to ADP and PI ratio, that is very important. So if there is high level of ATP, then of course the synthesis of ATP will go down. And then we have seen the energy status of the cell, that is the Atkinson's energy charge, where a high concentration of ATP in the cell will mean that the energy status is good. Okay, and then we are going to see another important term that is called the phosphorylation potential. Okay, so let us go to that slide. Phosphorylation potential is the actual amount of energy which is released by an ATP molecule. Okay, and it is also equivalent to saying that it is the actual amount of energy which is required to synthesize one ATP molecule. Okay, so when I use the term actual, it actually means same in the literal sense in a particular cell system, in a particular environment, in a particular situation. The amount of energy which is required to synthesize an ATP molecule, or the amount of energy which is released by the breakdown of an ATP molecule, is not exactly a standard unit. Okay, it will differ from situation to situation, or from a particular cell to another cell. Okay, and this actual energy which is therefore liberated by the ATP molecule, that is called as the phosphorylation potential. Okay, so it is the potential of a particular ATP molecule to yield a certain amount of energy, and that energy is not constant. Okay, it is not the same for every ATP molecule and under every environmental condition. Okay, or you can say biochemical condition. Okay, let us see something more about it so that you will understand this particular concept. Okay, uh, just a minute, let me see the other slides so that I can tell you something more. Okay, this is where we go first. Okay, why the delta GP is different than delta G prime 0. Okay, so this delta G prime 0 actually means the standard free energy change. So what is the standard free energy change? When a particular reaction happens, that is, for example, when ATP molecule breaks down, when it hydrolyzes, then it is going to liberate some energy. Okay, now that energy, as I told you, will differ from the situation to situation. Okay, but then it will be very confusing for us to understand the concepts involved. Okay, in order to understand the ATP molecule, what we are going to do is we are going to refer to one standard value. Okay, standard value of the energy which is released by ATP molecule, or energy required for the ATP synthesis. Okay, that standard value is called as the standard free energy change. Okay, so when the ATP molecule breaks down, energy is released. It is an exergonic process, and and there we say that it is the standard, the free energy change is negative. Okay, from the thermodynamic point of view, when the free energy change is negative, we say that energy is released, and when the free energy change is positive, we say that energy is taken up for that particular process to happen. Okay, so when ATP molecule breaks up, the free energy change is negative. Okay, it is a large free energy change, right? Now this standard free energy change, okay, the standard value is minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. So every mole of ATP is going to yield 30.5 kilojoules. So when I say minus that value, it actually means that energy is released by the splitting of ATP. Now the thing is that this particular value, the standard value is given here, assuming that the concentrations of ATP, ADP, and inorganic phosphate are all constant. Okay, that equal concentration, right? And not only that, but we are assuming that the concentrations have a standard value, and that is 1 mole. So if all these constituent, that is ATP, ADP, and inorganic phosphate, are present at 1 molar concentration, then we say that whatever energy is released by the breakdown of ATP molecule, that is minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. Okay, but in reality, what happens is the concentrations of ATP, ADP, and inorganic phosphate, they are not the same in a cell. They are never the same. Not only that, but they are not even 1 mole. In fact, the values are much lower. For example, if you look at this value for RBCs, human RBCs, okay, then the ATP content is just 2.25 millimole. Okay, very small concentration. The concentration of ADP is just 0.25 millimole, and the concentration of AMP is 1.65 millimole. Okay, in a human RBC. And therefore you see that these values are not even closer to 1 mole, right? And not only that, but these values are not equal in a cell. And therefore, this standard free energy change is just for our reference sake, but in reality, the amount of energy which is released by ATP, or the amount of energy required for ATP synthesis, is never minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole, but depending upon the concentrations of ATP and ADP and PI in the cell, and also depending upon the pH value inside the cell, which is never 7. Okay, when we say standard free energy change, it assumes that the conditions are standard. pH is 7. The temperature is also standard. It is 25 degrees centigrade. Okay, but that is never the case in a real biological cell. And therefore, the value of ATP, the value of energy, the amount of energy which is liberated by ATP molecule is not exactly minus 30.5, and it is different. Okay, so how it is different? As I told you, that value actually ranges from about, say, minus 30 kilojoules per mole to say about 50 or even 55 kilojoules per mole. Okay, so there is a range of values which is associated with the breakdown of ATP molecule. Okay, and that amount of energy, what amount of energy will be liberated by an ATP molecule, that energy, that value is called as the phosphorylation potential of ATP. Have you all understood it? Have you understood? Shall I give you one very interesting example? See, if all students, there are 21 students in this classroom, isn't it? In your class, there are 21 students. Okay. So how many marks you can get in the exam percent wise? You're getting confused. I'm saying that how much marks you can get in the exam, maximum, how much marks you can get in the exam. I'll use the word maximum.
So 100%.
Wonderful answer, Inamul. Huh? Anybody else? Shivangi, you want to answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How many marks can you get in the exam? Maximum.
Out of 100%, sir.
Percent wise, I'm saying.
Sir, 100%.
100%. Wonderful. Why 100%? Because that is your potential, standard potential, I would say. You have the potential to get 100% marks, isn't it? Right? Aishwarya, you want to say something?
100%, sir.
100%. Very good. Because you are very confident. Okay, Pragati Doke, very confident. Yogita, Shraddha, Shamim Khan. Okay, everybody very
Yes, sir.
confident that you will get 100% because you have the potential to get 100%. But in reality, what happens? How many of you have got, I know 7 students have got outstanding grade, isn't it? How many of you have got the first grade? First class. How many students got it? Can you raise your hands? One. Only one.
Sir, first class means
One.
A2 plus grade.
1, 2. How many else? First class कोणाला मिळाला? Raise your hands. 3. Wonderful. 4. Be fast. We have another lecture afterwards. Only 4. Okay, so I take it as 4. Okay, somebody removed the hand. Anyways, so 7 students got outstanding, 4 students got first class, other students have got second class, so they will do better next time, of course. So my best wishes are always there for you. Okay, so what I am trying to say here is that although the potential is to get 100%, depending upon the situation, whatever you are facing, okay, you have been able to get whatever you have got, and therefore that standard value will never be reflected in your report card, isn't it? You will get some value. There is a range of values, maybe from a first class to 100%, okay, or maybe never 100%, something less than that. Okay, so first class to outstanding, whatever marks you can get, you have already got it. Okay, so similar thing happens with the ATP molecule. Similar thing happens with any other energy rich molecule. The energy rich molecule will not liberate all of that energy that is equivalent to the standard potential of that for that molecule, but depending upon the environmental condition, depending upon the biochemical environment in the cell, okay, the relative concentrations of all the substrates, then the pH of the cell, the temperature. So all these factors are important, and therefore the free energy change associated will not be equal to the standard free energy change, right? And what amount of energy will be liberated by that molecule, depending upon the biochemical situation, we call that value as the phosphorylation potential. Okay, that is the ability of the molecule to phosphorylate some other molecule, or that is the amount of energy which will be released in the process. Is it okay? Have you all understood it?
Yes.
This is just an example for you. This is the standard equation for the standard free energy change. Okay, so delta G in the matrix side, P stands for the matrix side, is equal to delta G standard value, okay, plus RT ln, okay, natural log of ADP into PI upon active concentration of ATP. Okay, so all these values are the active concentrations, right? And then we are assuming that the pH is 7, we are assuming that the temperature is 25 degrees, and therefore the actual free energy change for the hydrolysis of ATP will be like this. Okay, delta GP is equal to minus 30.5, that is the standard value we have put, and plus, okay, plus this value, that is we are putting the RT, okay, gas constant and the temperature, and this is of course the standard temperature value, absolute temperature we are taking here, and then the natural log of these values, assuming that these are the values for an RBC cell, okay, human RBC, okay, and then if we solve that equation further, then we get the value of minus 52 kilojoules per mole in that particular situation. Okay, our standard value was minus 30.5, and the value that we have got here is minus 52 minus 52 kilojoule indicating that the hydrolysis of the ATP molecule in this RBC is in fact going to give you a higher energy, okay, higher energy. Okay, but conversely, I can also say that in order to generate an ATP molecule, in order to synthesize an ATP molecule, instead of requiring 30.5 kilojoules, I'm going to require more amount of energy, 52 kilojoules of energy I'm going to require to make one ATP molecule. Okay, 1 mole of ATP, that is. Okay, these values are for 1 mole. Is it right? I hope you have understood. And then there is one more dimension to this particular interesting thing, and that is in the cytosol, normally there are certain ions which are binding to ATP. For example, magnesium ion binds to ATP and ADP. Okay, and for this, the phosphoryl donor actually is not ATP. The phosphate group donor is not just ATP molecule, but it is MgATP. Okay, and therefore whatever is that standard the free energy change associated with the hydrolysis of ATP, that is actually pertaining to MgATP, not just ATP. And therefore for the hydrolysis of such ATP which is already bound to magnesium, the energy which is required, or the energy which is liberated from the MgATP molecule, goes to the tune of even minus 65 kilojoules. Okay, and again, that is very interesting. So if the ATP molecule is coupled to some other molecule, then the free energy change associated with the hydrolysis of ATP will be even more, right? And here I have some examples of other energy rich molecules like phosphoenol pyruvate or 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate. Okay, these are the values for the free energy. Okay, minus 61.9 kilojoules per mole for PEP, minus 49.3 kilojoule per mole for 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate. Okay, acetyl CoA, for example, can yield minus 31 kilojoules per mole. Okay, and if you want more such examples, then you can refer to Leninger's Principles of Biochemistry. Some other examples also are also given there. Okay, that was about it. And then I come back to some of the slides which are related to how the energy is released from ATP molecule. Okay. Okay, so let us see about the role of ATP, how the ATP actually gives its energy. This is a very interesting question or interesting problem which now I am going to put forth. Okay, but before that we will see this. ATP is the energy currency. We already know that it links the catabolism and anabolism. Okay, both anabolism requires energy. Okay, certain catabolic processes also might require energy in the form of ATP. Right, in catabolism, the heterotrophic organisms obtain energy in the form of chemical energy. Okay, and that is by the breakdown of nutrient molecules like carbohydrates or lipids. Okay, and that energy which is released in that is then converted into ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. In anabolism, what happens is ATP then donates this energy to the endergonic processes. Okay, and therefore the synthesis of macromolecules will happen. Certain intermediates are also formed in the process. Okay, then ATP is also required for the transport of nutrients. It is required for transport of gradients. Okay, we are going to see that in detail in the next unit. Okay, now the question is what forms the basis for the large free energy changes, how that energy is actually released by ATP molecule. Okay, and the question here is because of the fact that hydrolysis of ATP, if it happens suddenly, okay, it is like breaking up of a molecule or burning of a molecule, that will release the energy instantly. Okay, and if the energy is released instantly by any particular breakdown of a molecule, energy rich molecule, then what will happen is most of that energy will be unutilized. Okay, it will be unutilized. Just as an example, if I tell you that, do you all like chocolates? Do you all like chocolates?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You all
Yes,
like
sir.
it, isn't it? And then I have a bunch of chocolates. I have a large amount of chocolates. And if I want to give the chocolates to Shamim, okay, Shamim likes chocolates. I know that. Okay. So if I just throw the chocolates on him, if I just throw the chocolates, then what will happen? Most of the chocolates will just fall down on the ground. Shamim doesn't like to pick up the chocolates fallen in the soil, in the mud. Okay, so whatever he can catch, only those chocolates he is going to take. Is it right, Shamim?
Yes.
Okay, if I throw all the chocolates at you, you are not going to take up everything. You are going to catch something, and whatever number
Yes.
of chocolates fall down into the onto the mud, that you are not going to take up. Okay, so there is wastage. What I'm saying is there is going to be wastage of the material, right?
Yes, sir.
What happens is when the ATP molecule actually breaks up instantly, then the energy which is released by the breaking up of ATP molecule might be wasted away. Okay, it is not going to be collected by the another system, another reaction to carry out the reaction, whatever it is. It may be synthesis reaction or whatever. Okay, and therefore what happens is in the cell, in the nature, ATP molecule does not break up just like that. It doesn't break up like that. What happens is the hydrolysis of ATP will take place while the ATP is associated with a particular enzyme. Okay, that is ATPase enzyme or whatever enzyme it may be, which is using ATP for carrying out a particular reaction. That enzyme will actually bind ATP molecule. Okay, and hydrolysis of the ATP will happen on that molecule in a stepwise manner. There is something which is called as a group transfer reaction. Okay, so the phosphoryl group is actually transferred to the enzyme. Okay, and while the group is being transferred, the energy which is released will be taken up by the enzyme. The energy will be stored for some time in the enzyme. The enzyme will undergo conformational change. Okay, and that change will be utilized to convert a substrate into product. Is it right? Then the substrate, when it binds to the enzyme, the substrate may be ATP itself, and the substrate could be some other molecule also which is binding to the enzyme. Because the substrates are binding to the enzyme, the binding reaction itself will remove some energy from the substrate. Okay, and that is how the substrate becomes more weak, and ultimately the substrate will be converted into the product. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then another thing
Yes,
is what drives the ATP hydrolysis? What is it that will ensure that ATP will keep on hydrolyzing? Okay, and for that we have an interesting thing here. The products of ATP hydrolysis will not remain stable. The moment inorganic phosphate is formed, for example, that inorganic phosphate is converted into some form. Okay, and because it is converted into that form, more and more of ATP will be hydrolyzed because equilibrium will not be reached. Okay, because equilibrium will not be reached. Just for example, I'll tell you again that I have chocolates with me. I'm giving my chocolates to Shamim. Okay, and what happens is one by one, probably I'm giving chocolates to Shamim one by one. Okay, and then when I see that his hand is full, Shamim's hand is full, then I will stop giving chocolates. Do you understand, Shamim, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody trying to understand what I'm saying? This is a very interesting example which I think you will like. Okay, I'm giving chocolates to Shamim one by one. Okay, and then when I see that Shamim's hand is full of chocolates, that is equilibrium has reached, then I will stop giving chocolates to him. Okay, so now Shamim is very intelligent, okay, as usual. So what he does is the moment I'm giving him the chocolates one by one, okay, he is taking out the chocolates, okay, from his own hand, and he's eating them, he's consuming them. Okay, what is Shamim doing? As I'm giving him the chocolates, he is eating them. He is consuming the chocolates. He's putting them in his mouth. Okay, or he's putting them in his pocket. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is happening is his hands are never getting full. When I look at his hands, I see that his hand is not full of chocolates. And therefore, I keep on giving him the chocolates one by one. Okay, my condition is that if his hands are full, then I will stop giving him giving him the chocolates. Okay, but his hands are never full because he is consuming them or he is putting them in the pocket. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
that is what is happening here. When the ATP hydrolysis is taking place, the product of ATP hydrolysis, that is inorganic phosphate, it doesn't remain as it is. It doesn't remain stable as it is. Because if it remains stable, then inorganic phosphate will be detected by the system, regulatory system. And the regulatory system will think that, okay, since equilibrium is reached, a lot of inorganic phosphate is formed, the ATP hydrolysis reaction should actually stop. But that doesn't happen because the inorganic phosphate undergoes a transformation into various resonance forms. Okay, it gets transformed into different resonant structures. And because of that, the system feels that inorganic phosphate is not there. Okay, and therefore more and more ATP hydrolysis will take place. Is it right? So I've written here that the products of hydrolysis do not remain stable. They are immediately converted into stable forms, that is other chemical forms or other resonant forms. Okay, and therefore to maintain the equilibrium, in order to see that the hands are full, the more and more ATP must be hydrolyzed. And therefore this pushes the reaction in the forward direction, that is towards more and more breakdown of ATP molecule. Is it okay? Has everybody understood? So whatever I have told you verbally, I'm going to show it on this particular slide. So here we have the ATP molecule. This is the terminal phosphate group, okay, which is going to be hydrolyzed by water. Okay, this is hydrolytic cleavage of ATP molecule. Okay, so this group is removed, and this is what is called as phosphoric acid. This is going to form the inorganic phosphate here, but this inorganic phosphate is actually it doesn't remain stable. Okay, but it is converted into the resonance form. The red colored lines here indicate that the phosphate can be transformed into a number of different chemical forms. Okay, these are all called as resonant forms, and because of that, the system will feel that the equilibrium has not been achieved, and therefore more and more of ATP hydrolysis will continue to take place. Is it okay? Okay. So I think that was all which I wanted to tell you. This also is an important thing, group transfer. The phosphoryl group is what is transferred to the enzyme. ATP hydrolysis doesn't take place instantly all of a sudden. Okay. And through the group transfer, the hydrolysis of ATP will occur while the phosphate group is associated with the enzyme, and the enzyme will take up the energy from the hydrolysis. Okay, the energy doesn't go waste. Because of the energy which is acquired by the enzyme will undergo conformational change. Okay, and that conformational change will ultimately be used up for breaking the substrate. The substrate has already become weak because it has been associated with the enzyme through multiple weak interactions, and because of these weak interactions, the energy from the substrate has been withdrawn, it has been taken up. Okay, substrate has become weak, enzyme has become strong because enzyme has acquired the energy, and enzyme has undergone a conformational change. So so the enzyme is energy rich, substrate is energy poor. Okay, and that is how the enzyme is able to finally convert the substrate into a product. I think you might have probably learnt about this in your TYBSc when you studied I think enzymology. Okay, structure of the enzyme substrate complex, I think you have already studied that. Okay. So enzyme works by actually lowering the activation energy. Okay. How is activation energy lowered? It is through these multiple weak interactions which are taking place. Okay. I think I have only 1 or 2 minutes remaining for this meeting to end. My topic is also over. Aerobic respiration is completely, I think I have covered that topic as per what is given in your syllabus, right? And Gajanan wants to be admitted now at this last moment, doesn't matter. If you have any doubts, any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, this meeting will be over in a few moments. Have you all understood what I told you? Prahlad? Prahlad, could you hear me? Could you understand me?